The Apriorian Elder. An Apriorian Elder is an individual who has attained to the highest level of spiritual maturity. The mission of an elder is to serve as a model for other Christians, a kind of scaled-down model of Christ. There are many conditions for an elder laid out in 1 Timothy and Titus. We will only discuss one feature found in Titus. Titus 1:5-9 For this cause left I thee in Crete, that thou shouldest set in order the things that are wanting, and ordain elders in every city, as I had appointed thee, if any be blameless, the husband of one wife, having faithful children not accused of riot or unruly. For a bishop must be blameless, as the steward of God, not self-willed, not soon angry, not given to wine, no striker, not given to filthy lucre, but a lover of hospitality, a lover of good men, sober, just, holy, temperate, holding fast the faithful word as he hath been taught, that he may be able by sound doctrine both to exhort and to convince the gainsayers. The attribute we will discuss in reference to what it means to be an elder. It says in Titus that an elder must be holy. A holy person is defined as someone consecrated to God. That which is holy is dedicated to religious use, belonging to or coming from God. The holy is consecrated, sacred. The holy man or elder is spiritually perfect or pure, untainted by evil or sin, sinless, saintly. But the question is, how does a man attain to this level of purity and perfection? Is it by his own hand? Does the elder elect himself to office, and if not, how does a man attain to the status of an elder? It is this process sanctified, that justifies one being an Apriorian elders. In other words, there are preconditions for becoming an elder. Elder connotes the man's dignity and standing. Overseer refers to his function and duty. Pastor is a man's calling and refers to his shepherding, protecting, and feeding of the flock through teaching. The elder to be holy, must refrain from doing that which is unholy. There is an inverse relationship. One does not get to increase their level of holiness, whilst increasing or not decreasing the sin one is in. The dilemma average man finds himself in, is that he cannot become holy whilst maintaining the present situation. But that is what everyone seems committed to doing or trying. Everyone thinks they are gaining something by perpetuating the state, as logically impossible as that is. Everyone appears to have a vested interest in keeping this system, as ungodly as it is, going. But we cannot be holy and bind one another together, and still operate this system. Most Christians think the task they have, is to purify themselves. The persona of the mystic pervades Christianity with few being aware of it. Holiness is not a matter of personal development. One does not get holy, in the way a mystic becomes enlightened. In fact, Christianity spends far too much time on learning how to be a Christian, and far too little on being one. It is all about growing together in the faith. However, it ought to be the most obvious thing in the world, that we cannot be growing in the faith, if we are tearing down others in the faith. It is very simple, we are either building up, or tearing down. Christians must help one another, in simple and yet quantifiable ways. If there is no way to measure this help in the devil's system, there is no way to build the church nor for the church to bind us on earth, in a liberal democracy. There must be a constructive right and a destructive wrong, and they must be quantifiable, if there is to be any direction in our life. It ought to be deduced from what has been said, that evil consists of someone taking more than they put in. It ought to be obvious that the more one takes rather than gives, the worse off everyone will be. The church cannot get built unless there is an accumulation of value. Binding together is not a subjective process. Binding is binding. If one is bound, then one must be bound. It has nothing to do with how you might feel. There must be a model of a perfect church, otherwise we would not know what a failed church looks like, nor what we need to do to put things right. If there is no God-designed church, there would be no conception of the perfect church, nor would there be a clear path to building this church on earth. What is more, there has to be a perfect church because God cannot, in perfection, build anything less than what is perfect. If this perfect church is just an unrealizable ideal, it could not be deemed perfect nor viewed as perfect on earth. So, the perfect church is not only spiritually perfect, but also perfectly doable. It is economic activity that binds us together in the church and as the church, because building the church is an economic activity. We are the church as we are a free market. We are a free market as we eliminate the regulatory state and its regulatory controls. To build us up as the church, requires economic activity. We must produce the goods and the services we need, to make our lives better, as the church. This is a communal activity. No one can survive on their own, we need each other. We need to specialize. The only way the world can develop is through specialization. But each person must do their fair share, or it is not specialization, it is exploitation. The right way of doing things is not subjective or customizable. The right way is based on specific criteria. The right way follows the perfect model of the perfect church as laid out in Scripture. The model of perfection is manifestly the simplest design imaginable. We have to eliminate freeloading. When we have eliminated freeloading, what we have left is a perfect church. Freeloading is the way of the state, not the way of the church. As the state is empowered, the church is disassembled. And vice versa. We must make a choice, whether we will build the church or the state. The same stones that build the one, builds the other. The one cannot be fully built, without fully disassembling the other. Politics is the main tool we use to build the church. Money is the unit of measure that defines the speed and volume of the change, and economics provides the brick and mortar. The church is the architect and designer of the free market generally and civilization specifically. We may separate civilization from the church, but that is its bona fide source. If we create value and do not make claims against that which we did not create, we build the church. We are bound to the church by the moral value we have created. Morality is not an idea or an attitude, morality is spending only what one has earned. Morality is doing that which does not create costs for others to pay. Civilization is created by moral actors, by people doing more than they are required to do. Civilization is produced when people pay the cost they create and destroyed when more and more people turn to freeloading. This parasitism, as enabled by the state, church and others, pulls down what others are trying to build up. But if there is God there is perfection, and if there is perfection, there is direction. If there is perfection, we are either heading in that direction or away from it. Someone once asked me, how can I not let people put me down? You do not share their values with them? That is, form your own values, your own priorities, your own standards. There is a perfection to this world or there is no right and wrong. Keep your mind on the perfection and seek it out. They cannot make you steal if you know perfection is honesty, they cannot make you lie if your perfection is truth. They cannot make you feel bad about yourself and what you are doing if what you are doing is seeking perfection. Let them go. They are not your responsibility. Live to be perfect and stay true to it. If you keep your eyes on the prize, people cannot put you down nor lead you astray. Without perfection there is no direction, and if there is no direction, you cannot find the right path. There is no right path except the one that leads to perfection. If you are willing to compromise and make allowances, you will lose your way. Once you have lost your grasp on perfection and your desire to follow this path, you are lost. Ultimately, no matter what you do or say or believe, without perfection, there is only destruction. We cannot build unless there is something to build towards. But with perfection, we can seek to be as perfect as possible, but if not, then we are now the enemy of perfection. If we are under the law, we are lost, for the law provides no sense of perfection. The law is the blind leading the blind, and there is no way out. One law replaces the other law, but there is no perfect law which guides the formulation of law. All law is created equal because all law is its own judge. There is no perfect law, but the law. And so the law is deaf and blind, and if deaf and blind, how can it be guided or see the truth? This is the paradox of blindness. The blind cannot see their blindness nor realize there is a perfection that exists to give them light. The church is a light to the world, but if it is a failure and an institution given over to wolves, how can it be a light? Why do Christians teach Christians about other faiths? We are the light of the world, not Islam or Judaism or Buddhism or any other religion or cult. As elders we are a light, not only to the world but to the church, also. We must seek perfection, this is the pearl of great value. We cannot be perfect and be tied to this world. If we are worried about our property and the wealth we have accumulated, we cannot focus on perfection. There is nothing perfect in the accumulation of wealth. There is no perfection in the accumulation of property. Perfection is in the free market, in the elimination of all conflicting claims. Perfection in us is the elimination of all free-loading and even less than perfect responses. This is why we need to specialize, we need to focus on becoming perfect in at least one thing. God is perfect, and we need to be perfect as God is perfect. But God is speaking to us as the church. We cannot be perfect human beings, because we are in sin. We are perfected in the church, as the church. This is how we are bound on earth. Our perfection binds us together in our specializations. It is through the church we are saved, but we are saved through faith. But this faith does not just manifest as works, it is a type of work. Work done in response to law cannot save. When we work just to make money or fulfill obligations under the law, we are not made better. We must do the work that expresses faith. We need a faith that builds the church, that is the church. The church is the faith we have that builds the church. This takes maturity. Only the spiritually mature can build the church. The spiritually mature church is perfect, it eliminates all freeloading and operates as a free market. It is perfect, not because the members are perfect but because their imperfection is hidden in their bonds to each other. The sins of the individual are hidden in the love of the many. The elder is per specialization. He is spiritually mature because he has attained to a level of perfection in his craft that is sublime. He is chosen as an elder because he is proven capable of being a mentor and professor in his chosen field. The Apriorians Church is designed to create a free market economy with businesses tightly bound together, working to build the church. This is a short essay giving the basic outlines of such a church, but if this is something you feel you are interested in, connect with us at apriorian.com.